Hi, this is the podcast or the news update for the week starting the 3rd of August 2020. So every week ZP puts out a quick podcast and a quick video blog about news that we've put out during the week. So during the week we put out a quick note about FoodSense. FoodSense is probably the world's only handheld food quality and food safety testing device. And it also measures the hotness or the gingerness of ginger products. So if you're interested, ginger has a molecule in there called gingerol. Gingerol is that molecule that gives you that kind of spicy experience, that hotness when you eat ginger. And so the question is, well, how much ginger did I just put in that product? If I'm a manufacturer of a ginger product, how do I know that I've really put in as much ginger or gingerol as I did the last time I manufactured the batch? And the answer is, actually, you don't know. You can taste it, but good luck sort of defending that product. You know, if somebody says, well, you didn't make it the same hotness as the last time you shipped the product. So at least with FoodSense, they have a quick handheld device and they can measure the gingerness of that product, specifically through the gingerol. We put a quick page up this week, or a quick note this week, because we got a new some new ovens in. These ovens have very good temperature control and they're particularly useful for curing biosensors, i.e. drying the films on top of a biosensor, and we also use them in doing shelf life studies. So one of the big things at ZP is, you know, we're becoming this ISO 13485 company, and which means that we're certified to do the development and manufacture of medical diagnostics and IVD. And one of the questions that keeps occurring is, what's the shelf life of a product? So, you know, we're in a contract with somebody and we're developing their sensor for them, and the next question they have is, what's the shelf life for their product? And yeah, we're brave. We can give an opinion based on experience. So if somebody asks us what's the shelf life of a glucose sensor, we would have a pretty good guess at that. We've been doing that for 20 odd years. But the real answer is you have to do a study. And what's really nice about the Zimmer Peacock is we've got these new ovens in, got great temperature control, we can log it, and we have a really good data group as well. So we can do what's called a design of experiment. So we can kind of do testing, but do testing in a really efficient manner. And then we've also got a really good data analysis group so that we can actually analyze the data and see where the shelf life study is going. Are these sensors looking good, or do they look like they're actually degrading? So we did put some notes out about that this week. We also put a little note out about, we have this nitrate sensor, and I talked about it in last week's news as well. We have a nitrate sensor. It's actually in soil testing at the moment. It's doing really well. We're very happy with it. And one of the challenges we had to overcome was the ingression of liquid. Basically, we don't want water getting into our electrical contacts. So we have electrochemistry as the fundamental science behind what we do. We love electrochemistry. It's a really good way of turning chemistry and biology into basically electrons or electrical signal. But you know, a big thing is you can't have water get into your electrical connections. It just causes shorts and damage and at least confuse these sensors. So on the website we showed a kind of really nice video, or not video, but a nice photograph of one of our sensors, and we'd really sealed it into the connector and actually submerged the sensor and the connector under water, so that we were really proving the point that liquid can't get into the connections. So that was something that we put out on the website this week. So just go to the next page. Something else that we talked about this week. We did this on Thursday. We did a 60-minute live streaming event for the community on impedance spectroscopy. So EIS, electrochemical impedance spectroscopy, it's a powerful piece of technology, and we used sort of COVID-19 as an example of what you can use EIS for. And we also did, so we talked about the theory, and we did some, I think, really quite nice demonstrations of how you could learn this science, how to download software, how to model, how to fit. And then we also had two demonstrations, one from one of our guys, a really cool engineer called Motz, Mott's demonstrated the measurement of impedance of skin, and then Niti is one of our engineers and scientists in London, and she did a demonstration on measuring the conductivity of soil. So quite unusual but real world, let's say, samples, soil and skin. You couldn't think of things that are more different in some ways, but we showed that impedance spectroscopy could actually measure those things. So that's a really cool video to kind of look out for. We just did a quick note this week on what's called limit of blank, limit of detection, and limit of quantification. The only reason we did this little page was Zimmer & Peacock, we do contract development, contract manufacturing, and anyone who's going to do a CE marking or do a 510k submission to the FDA, in some ways, if you're going to do any kind of regulatory submission, or you just really want to properly characterize your product, then you're going to have to know this limit of blank and this limit of detection, this limit of quantification. And these numbers actually tell you, how low a concentration of analyte can I detect without mistakenly, let's say, actually having detected a blank. So it's how low can I go in my detection limit and be certain that I'm actually detecting something and I'm not just making a little error. Now, one of the other things we did this week was our FAQ section on our website, frequently asked questions. So Zimmer & Peacock has a really extensive FAQ page on our website. And we do it because we generally want to put out good content, answer questions, help people answer their questions quickly, and so we have a big FAQ section. We just did a bit of a revamp on that, so we just wanted to highlight that. If people are interested in the electronics for biosensors, it's a good page. If you're interested in sensors, it's a good page. If you're interested in the chemistry, biochemistry of sensors, it's a good page. If you're interested in hardware, it's a good page. If you're interested in electrochemistry, it's a good page. And then we also have a section for a company called Zana, which we distribute, and also one on Micrux, which we distribute, and one on error laser that we also distribute. We then just have an FAQ section generally on science and engineering, things that are a bit miscellaneous. We do have a section on that. Then we do have an FAQ on a company called PalmSense, good company, and also one on nanopore. Nanopore is a kind of a very cool up and coming technology for the next generation of sequencing of DNA and maybe RNA, maybe identifying proteins. So we have some nanopore technology. We also have an FAQ smaller section on biology. These are really all things that we're interested in, or we are supporting those particular products. So you can check out our FAQ section, it's pretty comprehensive. We also have a ZP merchandise store. So those of you who are watching the video blog, I'm wearing one of the t-shirts at the moment. It just says ZP on it. We're very proud of what we're trying to build at Zimmer & Peacock, and so we have a merchandise store where there's hoodies and t-shirts and sportswear, men, women, children's stuff, just with a logo on it. And the biggest consumers of this stuff are us at ZP, because we are proud of who we are and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build here. But we also have that store available, so other people who want to support the business can also buy from there. We also have a merchandise store for one of our leading products is called FoodSense. Now FoodSense, I mentioned it today actually, let me just mute that. Let me just mute that for a second. So let me just carry on. We also have a section called, for a product rather called FoodSense, and I mentioned ginger earlier on, so you can measure the hotness of ginger, it can measure the hotness of chili products, it can measure the pungency of garlic products, it can measure E. coli, it can measure pH, it can measure the sulfite in white wine. So we are proud of this sort of one of our flagship products called FoodSense. We also have a merchandise store around that as well. And then just lastly, one of my colleagues, Hasim in Indonesia, sent me a video link today, and on it showed a a YouTube channel called 7 Pot Club. I recommend you check it out. There's a guy called Rob Coleman behind it. And I just checked it out, and he'd done an independent video on the FoodSense, and in it he said he regretted that we didn't send him one, and I regret we didn't send him one either. But it was nice of him to mention us and give us a bit of a plug there, so we did appreciate that. So I'll just wrap up now then. So thank you once again. This is the podcast for the things that we put out this week. This podcast goes out every week, and it's just to give you kind of a quick either video or audio update of what the company's been up to this week. Okay, thanks very much. And of course, you'll always get a friendly welcome from Zimmer Peacock, so if you've got any questions, please give us a shout. Alright, cheers, thanks very much. Till next week.